and fall, and who knows what it means. Are we really going somewhere, or do we stay the same? Is anything really changing but the faces and the names? Oh, we're moving closer every day.
Listening to the stories of injustice awakens a new justice. So now I invite you to hear 3 women from this project with stories to tell. Sarah Winnemucca. My name is Sarah Winnemucca. I was born somewhere near the year 1844. I'm not sure of the precise time. I was a very small child when the first white people came into our country. They came like a lion. Yes, like a roaring lion, and have continued so ever since. And I have never forgotten their first coming. My people were scattered over the territory known as Nevada. My grandfather was chief of the entire Paiute Nation. He believed the white people to be his white brothers. He wanted to welcome them and love them as he loved all of us. But they would not let him. He believed it was because they were afraid. He wanted us to promise to welcome them as he did. We made that promise, and during the winter, my people helped them by giving them such as they had to eat. And then the following spring, there was great excitement among my people, account of fearful news coming from different tribes, that the people whom they called their white brothers were killing everybody that came in their way, and all the Indian tribes had gone into the mountains to save their lives. Then came the fearful story. Our mothers told us the whites were killing everybody and eating them. We were all afraid of them. Oh, what a fright we all got one morning to hear some white people were coming. Everyone ran as best they could. My poor mother was left with my little sister and me. Oh, I never can forget it. My poor mother was carrying my little sister on her back and trying to make me run. But I was so frightened I couldn't move my feet. And while my poor mother was trying to get me along, my aunt overtook us and she said to my mother, "Let's bury our girls or we shall be eaten up." So they went to work and buried us and told us if we heard any noise not to cry out, for if we did, they would surely kill us and eat us. So our mothers buried me and my cousin, planted sage bushes over our faces to keep the sun from burning them, and we were left all day. Oh, can anyone imagine my feelings? Buried alive, thinking every minute that I was to be unburied and eaten up by the people my grandfather loved so much. With my heart throbbing and not daring to breathe, we lay there all day. It seemed that the night would never come. Oh, how I cried and said, "Oh, Father, have you forgotten me? Are you never coming for me?" I cried so I thought my very heartstrings would break. At last, we heard some whispering. We did not dare to whisper to each other. I could hear their footsteps coming nearer and nearer. I thought my heart was coming right out of my mouth. Then I heard my mother say, "Tea is right here." Oh, can anyone in this world ever imagine what were my feelings when I was dug up by my poor mother and father? While we were in the mountains hiding, the people that my grandfather called our white brothers came along and set all of our winter supplies on fire. This was the first wrong done to us by our white brothers. My father told his people the time had come that we could not be happy as of old, as the white people we called our brothers had brought a great trouble and sorrow among us. He said, "We shall no longer be a happy people. We shall no longer go here and there. We shall no longer build our big fires as a signal to our friends. For we shall always be afraid of being seen by those bad people." Surely they don't eat people. Yes, they do eat people because they ate each other up in the mountains last winter. Foulon de Vie. My name is Foulon de Vie. I was born in the rural heartland of the state of Uttar Pradesh, in a village on the banks of the Yamuna River that flows from the Himalayas across northern India. My father was a poor fisherman, born into one of the lowest castes, even below the Brahminical order. My cousin, who saw me as a troublemaker, had me married off soon after my 11-year-old birthday to a fat, middle-aged man who locked me in a dark, empty cowshed amid rat droppings. Oh, I cried so much my head hurt, and my skirt was damp from my tears. Puto Lal was his name. He told me that we are married, and he would show me what married people do. He said he was going to teach me a new game. With a glint in his eye, he gripped me by the scruff of the neck and made me enter the house. He let his clothes slip to the hard, bare earth ground of the floor, and he was naked. Was he insane? We would take our clothes off to play in the water or bathe, but never with men. He grabbed my arm. I tried to protect myself as he undressed me, but he gripped my legs between his knees and I couldn't move. That was when I felt something slithering against me. It was a serpent. There was a serpent attached to his body. He wanted me to touch the serpent, and I was petrified. Then he started nibbling at my skin, trying to bite me. He was going to eat me. He was a man who ate women. I screamed, "Don't eat me!" He put his hand over my mouth to choke me. I struggled desperately to get free, but I couldn't. And then he started trying to do things with his nauseating serpent. The pain was unbearable. I begged him to spare me. He pushed me down with my face against the earth. He began beating me in a way I'd never been beaten before. He was beating me inside. The serpent tore me and began to devour me. Then he threatened to use a knife. Silently frozen with dread, I cried for my mother. I prayed for help from any of the gods and goddesses, but none of them heard me. I thought I had died from fear. I bit his hand and found I was still alive. He turned me around and punched me hard in the face. I began to scream and fight back. He picked up the knife again and held it in front of me, making me stand up. "You little bitch, I can do whatever I want with you. I'm your husband, your master. Do you hear? Now shut up." Bending over me, he showed me the knife again, waving it under my nose. "I'm gonna use this if you don't do what I say." Panic-stricken, I jumped up and, like a gazelle, I was outside in the courtyard before he even knew which way I had gone. I escaped to the village. No one stopped him. The women felt pity and empathy, but were powerless. The men were afraid. He could beat me and abuse me as much as he pleased. That was the custom and the law. I became very ill. I was nauseous and vomited constantly. I had a fever that made me shiver. Images of the torture swam in front of me, making it impossible to forget, or worse, comprehend. I heard footsteps in the yard. I feared I would be tortured again. Oh, it was my father. He had come to take me home. My father pleaded with Putalal to let him take me to the hospital. It was then I asked myself why he was afraid of Putalal. He was my father, and he alone should decide for me. But he was begging him now, the way he always begged my cousin Mayadeen. I was a human being, not a cow to be argued over by its owner. Finally, Putalal accepted. As we left in the street, the villagers watched us pass. The men sniggered. What did you think would happen if you married your daughter to Putalal? The women muttered to each other, Look how sick she is, poor thing. He already tortured his first wife to death. When we reached the edge of the village, I turned and shouted, I'm never coming back. Never. Oh, my father only frowned. Be quiet, Foulon, he moaned. Don't say a word. Don't embarrass us. Patsy Ferrell. The Traumas of My Life, written 7/13/93. The traumas of my life are woven together like the threads of a worn and tattered tapestry. This tapestry is an intricate piece of work that is purposely hidden in order for the remembrance of each thread to be a difficult and labored process. It is locked up by my defense mechanisms in order to preserve sanity and enable the spirit to coexist with the body until that spirit breaks loose, encircles the psyche, and makes its presence known, appreciated, and honored. I have cried a river of tears. I have felt the death one dies of loneliness. My dreams have floated out of reach. I have felt tremendous pain, emotional pain, black darkness, an empty pit of nothingness. And out of the vast darkness, I have emerged, a whole person. Individualist. My story, our reality. Our story becomes one struggle, individual. Individual struggles become integrated into one. We struggle together as unique individuals. We are human. One humanity. We become, we overcome. By Patsy Ferrell.